We ear hustling, baby.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of We Ear Hustling, baby. I am Newbie the Ear Hustler, and tonight's guest is the talented Mavis Swan Poole. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. How are you?
I am amazing, Queen. Thank you so much for having me. I am awesome. Here with no complaints.
That's right. Listen, nobody wants to hear it anyway, right?
Ain't that the truth?
So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. First of all, I discovered you a while back. There was a song called Grown.
I'm grown.
Yes, I'm grown. And I think
Yeah.
that came out in 2019. That was my first exposure to you. Um,
hmm
Talk to me a little bit about the beginning, right? When did you get involved in music? When did you find your voice?
Hmm. Well, I think music chose me before I realized it. And I've always sang, my family sings, my mom, my dad. Um, but no one, my mom will only sing in church. And she's I just always say by far my favorite singer. But I always sang like in a choir. I always sang background. And I had a friend when I was about 12, 13, my best friend at the time, who asked me to sing one day at the park. We were sitting on the swings, and shout out to Walltown Recreation Center. But she asked me to sing that day, Eve, and I sang. It took me forever to start, but she just told me, she was like, Mavis, you can sing. And I was like, what? I was like, me? She was like, yes, like you can sing. So, that kind of, it is where it started. That was a Saturday. That Sunday, she told the lady that was over our choir, and she asked if I could sing something. Not ask me, ask the lady over the choir if I could sing something. And the lady, she agreed. And the response from the audience, my mom is always, the one thing she said that day, and every time she ever hears me sing, is give it all you got, May. That's what she yells out. Give it all you got, May. So she yelled that out. And I sang, and the response let me know that I was onto something, that it was something different that I didn't even realize was different or special. So
Mhm.
that's the story of the beginning for me. That's how I'd already been singing, but never like lead or solo. So that was the way I found my voice.
And what was the name of the recreation center?
Walltown in Durham, North Carolina, Walltown Recreation Center.
Okay. I'm
Mhm.
actually in Winston-Salem right now. I just moved here not too long ago. So I'm getting
Okay.
with different towns and places. So Durham. Okay, so that's where you were raised.
Yes, born and raised.
Wow.
Mill
But
City, absolutely.
you did wind up going to school in Queens.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna bring it forward a little bit. So you went to school North Carolina Central, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
were classically trained there. Tell me a little
Mm-hmm.
bit about that experience and then what happened shortly thereafter.
Well, I went to school. I started off as a psychology major. I did not go for music at first. I went for psychology. And I had never really been in a theory class, or I didn't know the deeper ins and outs of music. So I was like, well, I can already sing. So I don't really want to go for something I already do. I want to explore something different. And then I also heard about musical therapy, and I thought that was a very important field. I really love the idea of just healing people, because it already heals, but healing people through music. So you needed psychology to even start, on the musical therapy path. So um, I basically started off with psychology. I was doing great the first 2 years. I was psych, and then I ended up joining the first 2 years as well. I joined marching band, and I also joined the choir. So I was still involved, and the jazz ensemble. I was still involved in every musical ensemble. And eventually it just took over. Like I added music as a major. I never canceled psychology. I was just double majoring. So I did psychology, I did my music. I was also music education. I also got education. So um and yeah, they just seeing beautiful Black and brown people. Also, it was people from everywhere. It wasn't just Black and brown people, but one of the most influential teachers I had there um, was trying to get me to actually be an English major. She said I was really good in English.
Mhm.
Kuldip Kuvahara. So I always shout her out. But she was a person that really tried to change, my path and just show me how strong I was as an English. If I decided to take on English as well, I didn't. I didn't. So
You have
um,
on your plate.
exactly. She is a beautiful Indian woman. Not Native American, but Indian, like from India, like an
Hmm.
Indian woman. And we of course had beautiful Black and brown instructors, amazing white instructors, people from all over the world. And that was a great experience. So yeah, it was classical training there. And when I understood how much there was to learn and how vast the study of music really was, I fell in love, but it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow. Like I didn't know any of this existed on that level. But I went from there. I graduated magna cum laude. I did my work. I learned what I needed to learn. And I went to DC, actually. I moved to DC for a while.
Hmm.
And while I was in DC, I got news that I had been accepted into Queens College. So that was it. As soon as I got that acceptance letter, I had those bags packed, moved in with a friend. I was out of there. So, that was the beginning of my New York journey. And I stayed in New York. New York it always is so good to me. I love New York. Like, I love it. So I ended up staying there and teaching and doing everything, going to school. I was there for 11 years. And I had both of my beautiful children who are now 6 and 9. And they were both Brooklyn babies. So but when my son got old enough to go to school, I decided to come back to North Carolina because I know North Carolina in a way. I taught in Harlem, I taught in different places, but I kind of wanted him to have a slower pace, as young people, and him and my daughter, and then to be able to visit New York or go back, when they get older, if they choose to go to school, I would love for them. I want them to go to school in New York when they get older, you
Right.
know. But for now, it's just like giving them that kind of slow foundation, slow, solid foundation to these good old Southern North Carolina roots, and then the world is their oyster. They can do whatever they want, go wherever they want. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm a native New Yorker, and it is definitely an acquired taste
mhm.
from there. And if you're not, street savvy or have that sort of sense about you, it can eat you up and spit you out.
Oh
So,
yeah.
anybody that goes to New York, I say, and lasts more than a year, you've done well. You know what I mean? I totally understand. And I noticed that looking through your profile on Instagram, you also know Chip Fu.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I know Chip Fu, and I was introduced to him by Khalil from the Bush Babies. And so what a great combination. I would love to see you do something with Chip. Chip is he's getting ready to drop something now, but I can imagine you just tearing something up over him just going spitfire.
Oh yeah. Oh man. We got to discuss that. I met him through a young man named Franklin.
Hmm.
What's I don't want to say his last name because I don't want to mix it up. Franklin. I'll just leave it at Franklin. And I fell in love with him immediately. Of course, I was always a fan of Fushnikins and everything else, but to meet him and spend time with him and really hear about the math program that he has, that's what blew my mind. Because
Yes.
a lot of times people are just one dimensional, even though we have so many dimensions, music and that's it. But it's like, you know, we all have genius in several fields, whether we tap into it or not, it's something different. But I just loved him. And I think the guy's name was, is it Greg Speed or something? It was another guy that he was with. So um anyway, I got to just spend time with him, meet, learn more about the program, learn more about him as an artist. And recently, my son loves listening to rap. He loves, certain rap artists. So he was listening at one point. He was listening to Eminem a lot. And I don't give anything away, but it always and I'm just who I am. Let's say that. I'm who I am. One thing that really bothers me sometimes about things that Black people have is we give it away so easily and quickly. And we always are quick to bring everybody else in. And the reverse is not always done for us. So my son was just looking at all these things and he was, oh, Eminem is just, they say he's the greatest rapper. He's that. I said, okay, that's cool. So I went back and he loved the fast rapping. So I went back and played Busta Rhymes for him, and let him hear some Busta Rhymes. And then I went back further and I said, well, let me play some Chip Fu for you. And I played Chip Fu and he fell in love. And he loves basketball too. So he saw that the song, the track they did with Shaq.
Yep.
Oh, he was a wreck.
Yep.
We were driving in the car and I just thought it would be cute. I was playing the music, in the car playing Chip Fu. And he was in the car in the back seat. And I called Chip Fu on the phone. And I was like, hey, I was just talking. And I eventually he caught on that it was him. His mouth dropped. He was like, that's him. Oh my God, that's him. I was like, yeah. So he got a chance to just like connect with them. And I've always just admired Chip. I recently had a video shoot with the brother of Ralph McDaniels.
Oh yeah.
Brian McDaniels.
Yes.
Amazing.
Brian.
He's so amazing. His energy. And he too asked if he found out I knew Chip Fu. And he called right then and there, like right from the video shoot, So, it's just nice when those connections are made with good people and just, it's just authentic people because there's so many different personality types in these fields. And sometimes you just meet the representative of people, not who they really are. So when you make good, solid, honest connections with people, it goes far. So, yes.
Brian has obviously been around his older brother, Ralph. Ralph is like my big brother. I was able to work with Ralph when he was still doing, with Classic Concepts and before it was Video Music Box. And so the fact that you come all the way from North Carolina and get to connect with some of the legends in this music thing, period, not just hip hop, obviously. Mm-hmm. This music thing is so dope. I mean, I think there are people in New York who have never met Ralph and have never met Chip or Brian. So I think, there's these little blessings, and working with Brian, I know he's a dope photographer. I've actually was trying to work with him as well. But either way, I think listening to you speak and listening to you talk about your children and what you want them to be exposed to, I would be interested in knowing how your mom felt about you going into secular music.
Well, now, my mom, she's so funny. My mom is actually an evangelist. So the plot thickens. My mom is an evangelist. So the way I grew up, I was one of five. I was number 4 of 5. And the way I grew up, it didn't matter if it was jazz, hip hop, R&B. If it wasn't talking about Jesus, it was blues. Blues. The only person that ever hit that nail on the head was the guy that did the producer of this Adult Time and the single, The Assignment, Eddie, what's his name? Jesus. Eddie Gypsy Stokes. And he knew exactly what I was talking about when I said blues. I guess he grew up similarly. He knew what I was talking about. Mm-hmm. But I remember like high school, SWV. I remember I could not get enough. This wasn't a time where I had access to stuff technology-wise to do things a certain way. It was just coming on the radio. And I didn't, at the time, my brother had stuff, but I didn't have access to record. So I literally, it was Earth, Wind, and Fire, Let's Groove Tonight. I had a video, a VHS of that. And then I had Week. I ducked school to stay there and absorb that music because I couldn't get enough of it. And I had to do it when my mom was at work. So by the time my mom came home, she caught, my brother did not tell me nothing, my little brother. She caught me listening to, the music. And she came and she was like, no blues, like turn it off. Like I did not grow up listening at least openly to a lot of different styles of music. I did not know. I was a jazz studies major at in college. I did not know who Ella Fitzgerald was until I was 21.
Mm.
And that's because though I did not have permission to know about these people and to know about these. So, you know, by the time I was old enough, you know, to do what I wanted to do, and make my choices, like, uh, by the time I was old enough, it was like I just went head over heels. I totally immersed myself. And it's so funny because my mom, you know, she would not come to a show for a while. And then you know, I got to the point where she just wanted to support me. Regardless of what. So her and my dad doesn't care. But my mom, you know, she like, you know, she was uncomfortable. And she's so funny because she would come and if as I'm singing, uh certain songs she would just sit there and you can see her, okay, this is cute, she's just letting it happen. But like just say a song like The Assignment, I was bold enough, I got to a place where I was able to just like, look mom, this is my show, if you come into my show, this is what it's going to be. She's so funny because I would look in the audience if I'm singing a song like that, like a heavy, you know, maybe sexual song or something like that. So she would be sitting there in the audience and she would have her pocketbook, right, and she's the entire song, she never finds what she's looking for in that pocketbook. She's just like,
I love it.
after it's over, she's like, but I see that she is, you know, not comfortable when I'm doing certain things.
Right.
But what I love and admire about her is that she supports her baby, you know, even if it's not what she necessarily believes. You
Right.
know, she supports her baby. So that has always been a very uncomfortable spot. You know, now it's just like, you know, she knows she still's going, you know, minister to me and tell me about Jesus and get yourself ready and da da da. But I know that's her love language.
Right.
You know, so yeah, but that's just gonna be what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you said you didn't know about Ella Fitzgerald until you were 21, but Mr. Al Jarreau called you Little Ella. Tell me a little bit about how that happened.
Okay, now it wasn't Al Jarreau. Al Jarreau, for Al Jarreau, the band that I co-led with a drummer, Jeremy Bean Clemens, Soul Understated was the name of the band. We were opening in Canada for Al Jarreau, maybe 2015 or something like that. And he, you know, it's like we're opening for him. He could have been doing anything, getting ready, whatever else. So we saw him just kind of hanging around, talking, but you know, just around and just at the stage or whatever. And we're steady making our music. We're doing what we had to do. And when we finish and get off the stage, first of all, he does his set and he calls us out on the stage. He compliments us. He validates us. Like he gives just some big praise. And then it was like at the end, if I'm not mistaken, after he performed, he came over to me and the band and he, you know, got all of us together. He was just like, I was around when Miles and Coltrane were around. He was like, they wouldn't have wanted to get on that stage after what y'all just did.
Wow.
That was what he said. That is a line I will never forget because we were sitting there like, what? What? You know, so if we had never been validated before, we were validated that day by the great Al Jarreau. So Little Ella was I had won a spot in this camp, this experience called the Betty Carter Jazz Ahead competition. It was in Washington, D.C. at the Kennedy Center, the Millennium Stage. And they had different people, Carmen Lundy and Nathan, I always forget his last name. He's passed on now. George Cables and Curtis Fuller. So Curtis Fuller, who's now passed as well, God rest his soul. He and Nathan were beside the stage. And, you know, in school, one of the things that Dr. Ira Wiggins and Mr. Arnold George, God bless them both, had really worked with us on as vocalists was scatting, you know. So, you know, I'm on stage and I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm just doing what I do, you know, and it's changes. So I'm scatting over it and then I finish and I walk off and they're just both on the side and they're talking and they start laughing. And Curtis is like, you know what I'm gonna call you, right? You know what I'm gonna call you? I'm like, no, sir. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna call you Little Ella, right? He's like, I'm gonna call you Little Ella. I was like, really? I said, look, do you mind if I put that in my biography and I use it? He was like, I don't care. He was like, I'm gonna call you Little Ella. I was like, okay. So
Love
that's how the Little Ella came about. And the fact that it came, he's a trombonist. The fact that it came, or he was a trombonist, that it came from one of the greats, one of the legends, like that really meant so much to me because, everyone is not always gracious in that field. It's very cutthroat, very cutthroat in the jazz world. So, you know,
Yes, it's very cutthroat in the music business. And,
it, absolutely.
I think it's important that, our elders in music validate us, because that's what matters to us, right? We still want to be accepted. We still
Mm-hmm.
be, especially when we're younger and we're fresh out the gate and we're, you are working your chops and you want that validation. So I think
Right.
incredible. And I think I got it mixed up reading with Al and him, but
Mm-hmm.
the compliment in itself. And then reading that you can perform and sing two notes or more simultaneously. Now, what's interesting about that was a few years back, I heard Layla Hathaway do that. And so when I read that about you, I was like, whoo, that is something that I don't believe can be taught. I believe that that is natural. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me about that.
Okay. Jesus. So that's always a little bit of it's always interesting to me because oh, it's
Uh-oh.
just that could be a loaded gun. I'll put it that way. Um so yes, I've been able to do it since I was a kid, since I can remember.
Mhm.
But I just used to do it to like freak my friends out and my sister and whoever else. And it was crazy because it was like when I moved to New York, I was taking a shower one day
Mhm.
and I just was playing around with it in the shower and I realized that I could control it.
Mm.
That was the thing. I was playing around. I realized I can control it. That was like 2007,
Mm.
the end of 2007. So I was like, well, dang, if I can control it, I can probably use this in music, or I could probably mess around with it. So it just started being a thing where, I'd be in school and I'm singing, or in Queens at the time. I did it maybe once at Central, but more so in Queens in New York. And when I did it, people just had all kinds of reactions, like different people felt differently about it. They didn't really know how to feel about it. But anyway, there's a video I have on YouTube that there's a singer named Ndombi and her manager. Well, at the time, I don't know if she's still working with her, but her name was Monica. Um, and Monica was telling me she saw the video. It's just called Multiphonics, just a thing I do with my voice or something like that. I recorded it in like 2008, something like
Mhm.
that, 2009.
Mhm.
And she was like, Mavis, never take that video down because she said that's your timestamp to show that you did it first. She was like, leave it up there. Don't take it down. So I don't know how much time I have. I'll make it quick and short.
You got all
But
the oh.
so I was at a spot, I think it was called Cleo's. It was um a little spot in Harlem. And they had jam sessions and different things. And I'm not really one to do many jam sessions, but I went this day. Um, just whatever made me go. I went this day. And it was Robert Glasper there. I think Esperanza Spalding was there this day, and all these other folks. And Megan, God rest her soul, she was there at the time. Uh, all of these folks. It was a lot of people. And, different people were just up singing and whatever else and playing whatever. So I got up and I was singing, and it was loud in the room. It was loud in the room when I was singing. Well, before it was already loud. People had a few drinks and it was just a good time. So was it Cleo's? Yeah, I think it was Cleo's.
Mhm.
So I'm just up there and I get the mic and I'm not singing loud, but I just, let's see if it'll come out. I should mute. Can I mute real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Let me see if I can get it first.
I
Let's
would
see.
love it.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So it was that. And I'm playing around. I start I start off by like doing this on the mic, but I'm not even loud. I'm just doing it. And Robert is with his cell phone, and he comes to the stage and he's recording me doing it. And he was like, he turned around to everybody in the audience. He was like, shut up. He said, do you hear what the F she is doing? That's what he's, do you hear what she, and he was walking around and just recording me on his phone. So that let me know that that was the first time he had experienced something like that. Now he asked me to do this gig with him at the 55 bar. And in Manhattan, something happened. I think he ended up moving away soon to California, or he might have been in New York, like living in New York at the time. I don't know. But either way, he ended up, not there anymore. And so our connection was lost. But the next time I heard, it was Layla, who had never done it before, because Layla didn't just start doing this kind of a thing. Layla, I mean, like as a musician, she didn't just start music, but she had never done that in any song.
Right.
So now after, in my imagination, what I put together was, that he probably showed the video and she said she could do it as well, or however it went, because I don't know how it really went. But even that, hers is more like like a tone produced, but it's not like, like actually being able to sing and do, melismatic lines with it. So it does kind of feel a certain way when people say, oh, you do that like Layla. I'm like, oh, okay.
That the first time I heard it, because
yes,
I was under the impression, because I had read some information on you, and then I read another article and it phrased it a little differently. And I was like, I wonder if she's the first one. So that's why I worded it the way that I did. But you know what? Shout out to both of y'all, because I tell you what, this is an industry where individualism and standing out and being the one is so hard, because people, the audience, they tend to flock to what everybody else is flocking to. They don't really delve in. I mean, part of my show is We Ear Hustling Baby, because I'm listening for different. And so when you hit that note, or when I'm listening to your music, or even if I'm listening to Layla, or I'm listening to Moonchild, these are all different feels. It gives me a different something when I'm listening to it. And so kudos to you. You know what I'm saying? And absolutely never take that down. That stamp is that stamp. And I'm gonna look for that. And I'm gonna my page, because I was a singer, or so I thought. And while I can carry a tune, there is nothing remotely close to what you do. And so I respect it so much.
I appreciate it.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, and I ask a lot of artists who are put in these boxes, right? Neo soul, trap soul, alternative. I read something somewhere, somebody put avant soul. Like, do you subscribe to that?
I mean, I just feel like music is music, and I feel like Black music in particular crosses so many. It's no box. You can put it here, but it's like, now the one thing that it literally took study to learn, being classically trained, it was almost like, I remember my voice teacher having me to imitate Julia Childs. So I was able to do that fairly easy, because of the way she put it in my mind, the way she had me to approach it. Gospel is already in me, that was already there.
Right.
And so when it came to jazz, it was that was the one style that I had to study, because you can't just come and bring all the riffs and runs. You can do it,
right,
but it's not as tasteful in that form and that style of music. It's more like, I remember sitting in a concert and the guy was dating, he was playing, and everybody in the audience was like, oh, at different times. And I'm like, why do they keep doing that? Like, what did they hear that I didn't hear? Or like
Right.
he might have done something like that Fred Sanford. He might have done, and everybody responded. I'm like, that ain't even a big deal. It's Fred Sanford. Like, I didn't really get the
Right.
fact that it was the fact of what he was playing it over that made it unique. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that he heard it over in this song, it may
Right.
have been like in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, if you're playing Freddie Freeloader, if you hear something like that when you're soloing, it's
Right.
just the sophistication and the creativity, you
Right.
know. So that was one style that once I got it, once I started learning like the little licks and the lines that are used over and over, I was like, oh, okay. And once I started learning deeper, like the, sharp 11s, the flat nines, tritones, all of the music and like, well, these just technical things and learning like, oh, so that now if I hit this sharp 11 and only the musicians, people can feel it, but the musicians know like, oh shit, that's sharp 11. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Like once I really got a hold to it, I started understanding the concept of like, oh, it's like a club. And you
Uh-huh.
gotta know it, like they say, if you know, you know. It's one of those type of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
But other styles, like I just feel like we really can do it all. We do it when we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
We put on that red dress. We play with these stuff. We play with everything. And
Yeah.
if we really would focus on it, like I just think, we could do anything. But I also understand. I just had this conversation with my students. We don't need labels. We don't have to have labels. We don't have to let it define us. However, if you go into a store and you're just looking for red socks, you
Right.
want to be able to go in a section where there's just red socks. You don't want to go in a store where there's just socks. And it's like, okay, well, geez, I'm overwhelmed. Where do I even start? How do I find the socks I'm looking for? But if it's isolated or separated by color, you can go and say, oh, there's the red socks. That's the importance of labels. If you
Right.
know what it consists of and what you're looking for, kind of what you like, it can send you into a vein of, oh, okay. And then it can introduce you to other artists in that similar vein. And you kind of just, so labels are important in the fact of simply identifying specifically kind of what you're looking for. But I don't think it should define the artist. It should just be a place where you can go in this category, but you could also be in this. Sometimes you can blend and blur the lines and be in this one and this one, but however it goes, I don't think it should work the reverse. Like I consider myself a country artist, so I'm just going to try to make country music because that's the label that I'm working in,
Right.
because then I'm shortchanging myself, you
Mm.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get it, but I don't let it define me. I don't think it should define you.
Absolutely. And listening to your music, from grown to feel good music to the assignment, you see all the different sides of you. Talk to me about the assignment and how that came about. What were you feeling and how did that come across in your music? The assignment, as we know, and I think most people know, that is been the latest sort of phrase in the last couple of years. He understood the assignment. Talk to me about that.
I'm loving your accent coming out all deep right now. I hear all of this New York coming out. I love it.
Thank you.
But the it's so funny. Well, that's it. I'll just say that was during. It's just the worst story, Lord. I wish it was more. Uh, it's just I just call it anyway. I was in a drought when I wrote this song, and that's the word I use. I was in drought, and I'm just like, let me manifest some stuff. I've been in situations where I was not in drought,
Right.
but when you have standards, sometimes it takes you longer to find exactly what you're looking for, or for it to find you, however it goes.
Right.
So during this time, like there was nobody in the picture, there was no amazing stuff happening. And like I said, it had happened before. I know exactly what it is, but that wasn't the case. So it's more of like a manifesting thing. Like he sent the track and Eddie sent the track. And it was just like when I heard it, I'm still like, oh, I can tap in now. I can tap in. Like, So it was just like it told me what to say. It told me what the song was about. And I'm also in the mind of like, okay, well, we're gonna see this thing. Like it's right here in front of us. It's happening. This is, best decision I ever made, I'll say. But it's just um connecting with it, allowing it to happen. And also playing off of something. If I'm being honest, and I am being honest, it was another one of those things where I'm talking with my students. There was another song. The same way I was talking about Eminem just a little while ago, and teaching my son that there's also, hip hop is an our thing. It's an us thing. We can share it, but we don't need to give it away. It's ours. It comes from us.
Mhm.
So and I'm not a separate person or segregated at all. I'm more of integrated. It's just I also understand that we give stuff away and then we don't get back included in that equation. We get counted out a lot of times. So at some point you have to preserve something or hold on to something. So I just try to introduce them to our people in everything. People representation is important.
Yes.
So with this song, The Assignment, there was a lady that was another lady. I don't even remember the girl's name, but my students were showing me her. I understood the assignment. It was that one. It was this.
Yes.
And I'm looking, I'm like, it bothered me. I'm just like, look at the dancers. You see, it's like there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's like having a form of blackness, but denying the culture thereof, denying the people. That's how it feels to me. So I show them, I'm like, y'all are you giving so much to this. I'm like, but it's not like she invented this energy, this she's borrowing from your culture. And you're blown away by her borrowing your culture and not even supporting people in your culture doing the same thing. So honestly, I told them there's a thing called the menstrual cycle, MINSTREL, the menstrual cycle, where Black people will invent something. Another culture, usually white people, just what it is, will copy that thing. And then Black people will copy the white people doing the thing that the white people copied originally from Black people. And it changes the whole thing. And that's the menstrual cycle. So, I was like, we need to start flipping this thing around. You can't always, it wasn't made like out of insult or to be whatever. But when I see people so hard, like my kids used to love K-pop and this and that, and they rapping, I'm like, hey, I need you to know that that's not hip hop. I need you to know that solidly. That's K-pop, just like they're saying, but that's not hip hop. Don't call it that. That's blasphemy. Don't call that hip hop. But I mean, it's not like it's none of it that's catchy and dope or whatever else. But it's just when you don't respect the people that do it, that's when I started having a problem with it. So anyway, I was like, yeah. So it was right around that time that we had that conversation. My students were, I was telling them, we need to flip that menstrual cycle and start copying their stuff instead of having them copy our stuff all the time. We can't fuss about it, but we can do something about it. We can do the same thing.
Right.
And ironically enough, child, he sent them tracks and the assignment. I put my version of the assignment.
I love it.
I put my version out, so.
Yes. And it's doing amazing. Right? Numbers.
Yes.
Tell me about the numbers.
Yes. Thank you, Queen. Yes. Okay. So I did receive a plaque from Digital Radio Tracker. The album peaked at number 1 in the world. That's on the plaque, which makes it just sound amazing when you hear I'm like, in the world. So, but yes, it peaked at number 1. So I received a plaque for that. It was so beautiful. I'm still, every time I see it, I'm just like butterflies. And on Spotify, it definitely has over, I don't know exactly the number, but I know it's over half a million streams just on that platform. So I think that labels it as gold now. So it's gold on Spotify. So, I mean, it really is, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Cause it's not like people are like, people that don't know of me or whatever, or have, before this, it's like, they'll talk about sudden success. And I'm like, But well, I can't tell you about that because I don't know what that is. Because
Right.
I've been doing this for years and years at this point. Like they say, every overnight success is like 15 or 20 years in the making.
Mhm.
People just see it when they see it, you
That's it.
know. But so it's I just figure at this point in my life, I'm like, yeah, this is what's supposed to happen at this point. If it's ever going to happen, this is the time because I'm not getting any younger. You know, it's like this is, you know, I don't want to be 75 trying to celebrate a certain way or just the first time things are hitting, you know. So I'm just really grateful and honored um, to the creator for the fact that things are lining up in a way that honors the work and the sacrifice, you know, that I've given my life for, you know, like this has been my journey, you
Mhm.
know. So it just really makes it worthwhile. And it's really great to see some fruit coming finally from the hard effort and sowing seeds. And, you know, so it's really, I'm not even like in that place of I'm the best. I never have felt like I was the best. I don't think there's such thing as the best. We're all different and unique, you know. But I do feel like it's a space for everybody, and I'm thankful that you know people are giving me space right now. And I have to shout out King Myron Ruffin because he divinely was dropped into my spirit for me to ask him to manage me and work with me, and he graciously accepted. And like he has been working his behind off. He has been working hard. He always works hard, you know, but you know, he's definitely a big part of why this has seen the success it has seen. The biggest part, I think, outside of the music. He is the biggest part of why this has seen, you know, the success. And he likes to stay in the background. But, you know, I don't believe in that. When you working this hard, like, no, you right here, if not here, because you out here making everything happen and linking me up with the appropriate people, you know. So it's just been a beautiful experience. Music matters as well. I want to shout them out, you know. So yeah, but this is really doing what it's supposed to do.
I love it. You know, it's a success story. You know, it's about trial and tribulation. It's about, you know, pushing through, moving back and forth. You know, I mean, I think this is also part of the makings of even more great music, right?
Mhm,
You see
mhm.
how there are different scenarios. And I think the way with which you perform and present your music is just, it's this vibe. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know, you have again these labels, neo soul, R&B, jazz, and I'm like, you fit in all those pockets, like every single one. Where do you want to go next with your music? What do you see yourself doing, performing? Do you see yourself on Broadway, acting? Like, where do you want to take your music?
You know, it's interesting. It might sound crazy, but my dream when I was a little girl, literally, was to have a microphone. That was my dream. I used to see people had just singing in a microphone, and I would be so like, oh my God, they have a microphone. Like it just seemed so out of reach for me, you
Mhm.
know? So coming from very humble beginnings and knowing what it's like to not have and also have, you know, I understand that I couldn't even have, if you had told me the things that I would have experienced and the way my life would have gone, I wouldn't believe you. I'd be
Mm.
like, you lying, because I never had my own room when I was little. We shared a bed, three women, not two, three girls, and not even a queen and full king bed. We had to share. I
A
was
double.
wearing hand-me-downs.
Mhm.
So you talking to a person that now ain't no way in the world. First of all, I ain't yet. No, stop. That can't be me. I didn't even know to dream big. My
Mm.
life has shown me the power of the creator because people have come to me. And I remember being young and a person coming to me, a guest pastor came to a church that my mom attended, and they called me out. And I wasn't even really singing like this at the time. And they called me out and they were like, you're going to sing before kings and queens and great men. And I remember them saying it, and I'm just like, okay. It didn't, you know, and I could have never just, it just was beyond my wildest dreams, anything like that. And so what ended up happening was I've learned at this point that I don't, I mean, I understand goals, I understand things. I understand more importantly that my music is a ministry. That's how I see it. And
Mhm.
I cannot be like the type of person to say, well, I don't sing about this. That's the reason I couldn't do the church route because a part of the adult sex experience is a sexual experience.
Mhm.
That's the way we recreate people. That's the way we multiply, you know? So for me, it's very important to honor that and sing to it and give it a space.
Mhm.
Also being angry, there's a space for that. There's music for that. Also being happy, there's space for everything. And it all, can have a soundtrack. Our lives can have a soundtrack. So because I understand that it's a ministry and that it's something that was given to me and has led me in life, I just kind of let it lead. That's the thing. I'm just kind of like, where do I go next? Like, okay, if I get the opportunity, I do. I ask for divine opportunities where people can be changed through what I'm doing, and where I can be changed from the people that I'm encountering. To make it a real life experience, a real human experience. That feeds me.
Mm.
It's the reason that I teach, like giving and then seeing it become something, it matters to me. So honestly, I don't really have like I want to see myself here, or I've heard my friends say, oh, I want to do stadiums or arenas and this and that. And in my head, I'm like, I guess I would want to do that. But it's like, it's not really like a thing. Like I can make myself fall into that, but it's just like I would also be cool singing for a very
Intimate.
attentive audience in
Mhm.
a space. I don't want to be in the smallest space, but in a decent sized space where my music is received and respected, and just pay me well.
Right, right,
It all boils down to just
right.
pay me well.
I'm I'm with you. I'm about the experience. I mean, it's something that I noticed too. I went to Italy last year. I also work with artists. I work with a hip hop jazz artist by the name of Jay Swiss, who did an album with Michael Leonard, who's a trumpeter, worked with Bruno Mars, and I also manage an R&B artist. And I went to Italy with them, the jazz group, and the difference in the audience versus in the US, and I kind of talked about this before, is that the way that they absorb music in other countries as it's like it's the last sip of water.
Mhm.
They're going to absorb it and they're going to join in. They're going to dance. They're going to sing. They're going to embrace it. Where I find in the US, we have a lot of stand arounders who are just trying to see who's at the spot. And, they're not even really there for the right reasons. And so I enjoy going to the smaller places and discovering people and hearing people that I know perform, because I know that the synergy alone is going to be crazy.
Mhm.
And so I respect wholeheartedly what you're saying. This isn't a necessarily a numbers game for you. It is more about the quality, the engagement, the touching of souls with music. And that's what's so dope about you. I think you get it. A lot of people
Mhm.
don't. And I mean, I don't want to put other people down. That's not what I'm intending. Everybody has their own reason and their own agenda. But I do believe that when I speak to people of your caliber in this music business, you get it. So
Mhm.
I want to say, number one, thank you for blessing us, because it is not an easy business to live in, to deal with. You got to have some thick skin,
Mhm.
and you got to be confident as all hell. So, for me, I'm just looking forward to seeing you live. I don't know if you're going to be doing something in Durham, but I'm just a drop away now, so I can get but I will definitely stay tuned. If you wouldn't mind, just tell everyone where they can find your music, where they can find you on social media as well.
Okay. Um, all things at Mavis Swan Poole. Everything at Mavis Swan Poole. Website is mavisswanpoole.com. I have to honor you as well for the way you, well, first of all, for the experience and the platform, but
Thank you.
also the way you listen. It's
Thank
almost like you're not being interviewed. I'm not being interviewed. Like you allow the space. I sometimes deal with people where we're going back and forth. You can barely hear each other because they're asking, I'm answering this. So I really, it almost like, it's just like you allow it to happen. And then you ask the next question. I can tell you're a great listener.
thank you.
That's a gift in itself. So thank you for this experience and for the way that has to be a form of love language for people. So thank you for allowing me to actually speak in
You
the
almost
interview.
so I get it. I so get it. And we can find the assignment on all streaming platforms.
Absolutely.
Other music that you've put out. I think people will enjoy the variety that you offer. I mean, literally, for me, listening to the songs, because of course I did my homework, there was stuff that I hadn't heard from you. And I mean, it's just something different for each song, which tells me there's something for everybody. So
Mm,
for those of you who are watching this interview, go ahead, check out Mavis Swan Poole. Check out her website where you can see her bio at mavisswanpoole.com. Check her out on IG. She's on the move, on the go. She's got great management in her corner. She's got Music Matters in her corner. Listen, it doesn't get any better than that. I just want to say thank you, really sincerely. Thank you so much. When you are ready to come back, let me know. We can promote the next thing. Let's talk about it. I'm here for you.
absolutely, Queen. And thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you.
You are welcome. Everyone, thank you for joining, and I'll see you soon. Peace.